All right, and welcome to Stay Tuned with Troy and Howie. We have another special guest on board. Actually, we have a few special guests, but first we're going to be talking with Kami, Psychic Kami, that is. And Kami, you're chatting with us all the way from California.
That's true, all the way from Fresno.
Yes, and as you said, it was. I'm sorry, what was that again? The armpit.
That's what we call it. It's the armpit of California.
All right. Sounds good. So, but yeah, so we're speaking with Kami, and you're also here with Troy Garman, and we also
Kami.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yep, and we have a couple special guests. One's in the waiting room, waiting to happen, and the other one hacked us. So we got Anna here on board as well.
Hi.
So, how's it going, Anna?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Oh, your face is frozen there, but I can hear you. I can hear you fine now, so you're good.
Yeah, that's all right. We can hear her.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
let's start off here and get a little bit of a background on you. When did you realize this is what you were going to do in life?
This is actually one of my favorite stories to tell, and I'm coming up on my anniversary of awakening. I haven't always been like this. I spent 18 years working in corporate finance and legal. I have 3 different degrees. I've worked all across the United States. This wasn't I wasn't a little kid and thought I'd be looking at a crystal ball for people at any point in time. I was very much in sort of a corporate world. And back in January of 2016, I began hearing a man's voice. Imagine that, because I'm just like in finance doing my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing a man's voice, and he began talking to me, and he began singing to me and commentating on television shows, and it was hard to decipher if this voice was in my head or out of my head. And after almost 3 months of hearing this man's voice, I thought, I'm crazy. I either need to call my psychic or my doctor or both. And I opted to call my psychic first because I didn't want to go to the doctor. So I thought maybe I had schizophrenia. No lie, it runs in my family. So right. So I called my psychic and I told her, I said, her name is Margaret. I said, Margaret, I think I'm being haunted or something's wrong with me. And she got really serious. And she said to me, are you smelling bad things? No. Are you having nightmares? No, quite the opposite. I'm having these very pleasant dreams of this man, all sorts of stuff. And so she asked me a couple more questions, and then she took a deep breath and she said, honey, you're not being haunted. You're being awakened. I said, what is that? What is that? I didn't know. And so fast forward about 2 weeks after that, this is where it gets a little bit tragic. On March 31st, the morning of that, I found out that my beloved sister passed away, and she was 36. Wow. Mm-hmm. And so
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So we're coming up to her 6th anniversary pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And so that morning after she had passed away, I'd come to Fresno to see my mom. I was living out of town, and I walked out of my mom's home and I felt very out of body, like when you drink too much NyQuil and you're just kind of back here somewhere. Mm-hmm. I was very out of body, and I could see myself sort of touching the flowers in my mom's garden and looking at the sunrise, and it was very early, and hearing the birds chirp. And then I heard a voice come out of my mouth. And that voice said, it's all so beautiful. And it kept repeating that phrase. And after, I recognized that voice was my sister's. And I was having a co-experience. I had no idea that these things happened. I was having a co-experience with her where she blended with my physical body and experienced our world. And that's when I woke up like this. I knew immediately that I had a gift and that I needed to share this gift with other people. Mostly, I began to help people who had loved ones on the other side. But as time progressed, I learned that I had so many more abilities than just doing medium work. So that's how this came to be.
Wow. So how scary is that for you when you have this revelation and all of a sudden you're talking to your sister who had passed away? And like what's going on in your head? Like, I know you said, schizophrenia runs in your family, so that's a scary thing to even think about. But were you thinking, wow, like I've completely lost it, or?
No, because I recognized her voice. We have very distinct, she was a smoker. We have very distinctly different voices.
Mm.
But
Okay.
what was unusual was I thought maybe I'd lost my grip on reality or something, and that I was
Yeah.
in some strange
That you were losing
dimension.
it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that would be something.
Mhm.
So what you're able to like hear her communicate with you, and then obviously like she can hear what you're communicating to her. Like, so is it almost like a conversation just mentally though? Is that kind of what it's like?
Yeah, so yeah, I think this is a really good point to maybe stop and talk about what my gifts are, because my gifts aren't
Mhm.
always auditory. And in fact, my main gift is not auditory at all.
Okay.
My main gift is clairvoyance, and that means that I see visions. And so
Oh.
for me, when I close my eyes, there's a whole different world out there going on. And that's how I get my messages. But I am clairaudient. Aside from clairvoyant, though, I'm also something called claircognizant. And that means I have a knowing. And a lot of things that are mediumship, so from loved ones on the other side, I get claircognizantly, almost like I have their memories of you, the
Mhm.
way they feel about you. I'm also very empathic, so I feel feelings.
Okay.
So with my sister, it wasn't very, it was outside of my head. It was obviously in a different sort of clair. But
Mhm.
with her, the majority of the time, I communicate with her through empathicness and claircognizance.
Sure. And
Wow.
I guess with that being said, does it have to be someone that you've been talking to for a while, or could it be just somebody like, one of us that appears on this,
Yeah, it could be your grandma.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, so that's the
So
thing. Go ahead.
I mean,
I was just going to say, so with
is
that
it
being
somebody that you
said,
have well, is it somebody that you've had a connection with though? Like not necessarily the person on the other side, but the person that like really.
So-
So it could just be
No.
some
Wow.
random person.
It is,
So-
but that it is, and that's how my business
Yeah.
works. Is people are called to come and visit me, people that I've never seen or met before.
Okay.
But I know things.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, why don't we see what Anna brings to the table? Would that work for you?
Of course.
All right, Anna, are you there?
I am here. I don't know why my camera's not working.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I mean, we see a still shot of you, so it's all good, and you're not making a funny face, so you're
Oh,
fine.
good. Good. I'm known for funny faces, so I'm glad
That's
I'm not
right.
frozen.
So how does this work, Kami? Does like Anna start talking with you, or do you just start giving
Well,
her what you're feeling, or?
So typically I like to get a little bit more in sync with folks. I'll usually do a breathing exercise with my client to open up their heart space, and I'm already in mine, and so we connect through our heart space. But for you, Anna, I'm curious to know, what's your birthday?
October 6th.
Does that make you a Libra?
Yes.
Oh, do you have children?
I do not.
So y'all, aside from medium work, I do a lot of like psychic work. So future. So psychic means you're working with someone that's living. Medium means you work with someone that's past. And so I'm using my psychic abilities to connect with Anna. And
Okay.
so I feel like for you, Miss Anna, first of all, I bet you have a little bit of late bloomer thoughts going around yourself. Is that right?
What does that mean exactly?
A late bloomer, that's a good question, because it means something different for everybody. But from my perspective, a late bloomer is someone that may be having children late in life, maybe getting married late in life, maybe doing, some of their other things late in life. Is that you?
Oh, yeah, no, that's me.
I also feel around you that you're probably a perfectionist and you have a really difficult time making a decision.
I can answer that for you. Yes, she is.
The joys of working with Howie.
Right.
Additionally, and this may be a little bit of a tender spot, but I bet you had a really difficult disconnect with one or both, if not both of your parents. And I bet that led to your perfectionism and the reason that it's so hard to be a decision maker.
I wouldn't say it's my parents. I definitely faced some hardships early in life, but they're both still very close with me at this point.
That's interesting. So, but it's early in life hardships then, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So,
yeah.
did you come with questions today, Anna?
No, I just wanted to learn more. I've had a friend visit a medium at one point after her father passed, and that was the first time this was introduced in my life, aside from Hollywood's depiction of mediums and psychics. And so when Howie said that you were going to be on his podcast, I was just curious and wanted to kind of learn more and just see how it all works.
Yeah. So, So I explained earlier how psychicness works for me, that I kind of get into a state of my heart and join in sort of an empathy state with you. That's how psychicness works for me. Mediumship is a little bit differently. It's all about raising your vibrations to meet your loved one, because their vibrations are so high. We have to kind of raise ours. So that's how mediumship works. For me, I'm what's called a channel, and that's my primary way that I show up, is as a channel. I'm able to meditate about an hour before I meet you and use my clairvoyance to get all sorts of messages, about you. And then my sessions are talking with you about what Spirit shared and then asking questions. Does that help you to understand a little better?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I think it's cool that you have the skill set for both.
Me too. I think I'm really blessed like that. I have a variety of stuff. Like, I'm able to talk with animals. I'm able to talk with plants. I'm also able to talk with non-communicative beings. And this is my most special gift. So folks that are in a coma, I'm able to talk with them. Folks that have Alzheimer's, or individuals that are disabled and just can't communicate. So I'm able to do a lot of stuff. And I love that I'm so varied in my gifts.
Now, Kami, you said you can talk to plants. You kind of struck a nerve with me on that one, because because Anna's kind of a plant freak, and my office, which I share with her, is ridiculously full of plants, and I hope if you were to talk to them, they probably wouldn't like me so much. But I'm sure.
maybe she could talk to them and tell them to leave, Howie.
There you go. Leave. Is that a pun?
No, plants are interesting. They're very slow and very subtle communicators.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's about that empathy and being able to sort of be aware of the vibrational changes of different beings around you.
Well, that's really interesting. I've never even heard of anybody I've never even heard of communicating with a plant or anything like that before. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the old tree hugger thing comes from, Go and hug a tree and see what happens.
That's a good point.
There you go.
That makes sense. I worked with someone, and she said that her mom would talk to her plants growing up and just give them positive words of affirmation and love, and that those plants grew a lot better.
So her name wasn't Audrey too, was it?
No.
No. Okay. It's a Little Shop of Horrors. Then he's talking to the plant. So yeah, we're talking with Psychic Kami, and you can find her on the website, psychickami.com. Her social media is all Psychic Kami, so look her up there. And I think your Facebook page is what, Spiritual Readings by Kami, or Spirit Readings by Kami. Yeah. So please look her up. If you can book sessions with her on there online. You do phone, you do video, and then you even I guess you even do in person, correct?
I do very few in person, with COVID and stuff. But I do phone, I do video, I do a lot of email readings too. And every once in a while, I'll do a party for local people where a group will gather and we'll get together and
nice.
Have a really healing opportunity with each other.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you a stereotypical question right now. You even kind of said this about when I first asked you about how you got into this. Is the crystal ball is that really a thing, or is that just a prop that's made up from Hollywood, or what is that like?
Sure. So in the woo, that's what I call the community, the spiritual community, the woo, WOO. In the woo, there's a lot of different folks. There's folks like me that's a channel, and basically I am the conduit for which spirit can come through. Then there's folks that use divination tools, and those are the conduits for which spirit can come through. A crystal ball is a divination tool used by folks that do something called scrying. That's when you stare into a reflective surface. It even works in puddles. You stare into a reflective surface, and you kind of relax your gaze, and you see what comes forward in that reflective surface. So while it's unfortunately become a prop in movies, it is really used as a tool for the woo.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So with Anna, is when we're talking with her, are you able to kind of see where things are going into the future, or is this something that's just within the present time?
So I'm able to see future, present, and past, including past lives. I'm able to look at your past lives if you believe in reincarnation. That's actually one of my favorite things to do. I learned so much about how the world worked in that moment, rather than how we perceive it from now.
Okay.
So yes, I can look at all sorts of things, Miss Anna.
Interesting. Yeah. So what do you see in her future?
Yeah, give me just a second here. Let me see what I've got. I'm going to
Okay.
try to connect with her, so give me just a second.
Gotcha. No problem.
So Anna, I feel like you're going to be ejected from a situation. That's the word that Spirit wants me to use. It's a very specific word. Go out and look it up. I used to be a teacher also, so I hate misquoting definitions. But I feel like you're going to be ejected from something rather quickly, and it's going to be an unpleasant surprise for you. It's meant to push you into a different direction in your life, where there's been stagnant energy that can no longer remain. You're going to be ejected. I'm going to tell you, you're probably going to be ejected in the next I feel like I keep saying 2023, so for sure by the end of next year, but I feel like it's closer to summer, so that you're going to make a large change, not necessarily by your own choice.
Wow.
Interesting.
I guess I should start preparing now for it.
I would.
At least
Right.
mentally.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I would.
All right.
So that's interesting. And then do you have a dog around you, Anna?
I do. I have 2.
Yeah, do you have a small one?
No.
Do you have a big one?
Yeah, 45 and 55.
Okay, well, I had Great Danes, so that's little.
Oh, okay. Then that's small. Oh my gosh.
That's like a chihuahua.
Everything's small compared to a Great Dane.
Right? That's my perspective too. I have a pit bull now. I'm like, yeah, you're little. You know? So you have a dog that comes forward around you that's just closer. I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about. That's closer to you than the other one. And this dog really loves you like a mommy. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
I feel like there's 2 different kind of dogs in this world. I feel like there's a dog that's your pal. That's the dog that doesn't really want to cuddle, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a baby. And I feel like you've got one that's a baby. Do you understand?
I definitely do.
Is it a him?
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name's Bo.
How sweet. Yeah, that's your baby. How old is he, please?
He's about 2 years old now.
I feel like you have a long time with him, but not long enough.
Yeah. That's always how it is with dogs.
Huh?
That's always how it is with dogs.
That is always how it is with dogs. But I feel like your time is going to be shorter than usual, though.
Oh.
Really soak him up. That's your baby.
Okay. Well, thank you, Anna, for coming on board. And obviously, you're more than welcome to hang out and chill out while we're doing this. But I want to bring in John Newlay, who's another person that's in the waiting room. So if you don't mind, Kami.
Sure.
All right. Let's see here. See how this is going to work with him. He's loading up. There he is. So we're speaking with John Newlay. And John, you're on board here with Kami, the psychic. Also, Troy, who's my co-host, and Anna.
I do.
Nice to meet you, John.
Yes, nice to talk with you, Kami, and Troy, Howie. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I feel blessed, and it's always great to be on. And this is a topic that actually really interests me. So I'm kind of curious to pick your brain. Now, I didn't get all of what you all were talking about earlier. So maybe just give me a recap so I don't be redundant and talk about things you've already covered. Thank you for having me here.
Well, go ahead, John. What do you want answered?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Kami, I'm really curious.
Kami, by the way.
Kami, right?
Yep.
Did I get that?
Yes.
Kami like Amy.
So, yes, Kami like Amy. Okay, I went to school with a girl named Kami. I have like Tammy, so I have a tendency to kind of revert to that. So if I do, just shove me in the other direction. But I'm kind of curious, how you probably talked about how you got. I was always wondering, we all kind of have general like intuition, and so how is being psychic different than just having our general like gut intuition, like this is bad or this is good? Help me understand. This is there.
Sure. What a great question. Thank you. So I believe that we all are gifted. I think that, over time we forget our gifts or we just stop using them. And I always tell people it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And so for me, and I can really only speak to me and the way that I operate, but for me, the difference between intuition, which I also have, I get that feeling too as a human. I get that feeling that passes through your gut and you're like, oh, that's not good for me. Or, oh, I do like that. For me, and I was saying this earlier, is that I have a variety of clairs, clairvoyance, clairvision, clairaudience, clairgustance. Those are all, different clairs. And clairs don't necessarily mean your gut. Your gut is your gut feeling. We feel it in our stomachs. For me, an example, my main gift is clairvoyance. And so when I close my eyes, I have visions. And so that's different than intuition. It's in my opinion, it's a lot more honed in to specifics rather than just this doesn't feel right for me. And intuition, usually you can't tell me, John, how I'm feeling, but with psychicness, I can tell you.
Interesting.
So go ahead, King.
Intuition, I think, is a personal gift. Later.
So given that last statement, I guess maybe a better question is to ask you is to maybe what sort of energy do you feel around me right now? Would that be a fair question?
What a great question. So you know what I'm going to do, since I'm clairvoyant, when I close my eyes, I see visions. I'm going to read your aura. Do you know what an aura is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
So just for folks that don't know, very briefly, an aura is the energy that you emit through your thoughts, your feelings, those kinds of things. And that energy has been measured to go out, a certain set of feet around you. And for me, again, being clairvoyant, when I close my eyes, I'm able to see your aura. And I see that in different colors. And for me, colors represent different things. And so it's really interesting that you asked this question, because when I first saw you, I tuned into your dad, and then I tuned into a green flash of energy. So is your dad with us or passed?
Still here. Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So just quickly around that green colored energy around your dad, I would venture to tell you that there's some work for you to do on your relationship with your father around compassion and forgiveness. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
That's a fair statement. Yeah.
Let me tune into your aura, which changes, by the way, as we shift in our own thoughts and within ourselves. So give me just a second and I'll tune into your actual aura. One moment, okay? Let me write it down because it'll be gone.
You have to make things complicated, John.
No, it's just that I work in sort of a meditative state. It's funny. I work in a meditative state, and so just as I'm connecting with you, I'm kind of in a brief meditation, so I have to write it down to come back to you in this world. Sure. But the first thing I want to share with you, John, is that there's actually an animal around you. Anytime we see animal energy, like not like a pet, but anytime we see animal energy, it's something that we're meant to embody more of right now. And the animal that's around you, oddly enough, is the camel. And I don't know enough about it to tell you what the energy of that is. It could have to do with being sort of a workhorse. It could have to do with, long expressions of yourself. It could have to do with carrying people that maybe you shouldn't, some things like that. So I would encourage you to go out and Google camel spirit animal and see how that relates to you. Okay. The other thing, so with your aura, it comes in bands for me around you. The band that's closest to you are the things that you're most likely working on the most right now. And then as we get farther out, lessons that you've been working on and need to wrap up, etc. And the band of color that's around you, the closest right now, is blue. And that tells me that we need to represent ourselves more in an authentic way. We need to learn to speak up for ourselves with grace and tact. After that is a yellow band, and that tells me, it's funny you started with a question around intuition, because yellow is often tied to intuition. It's also tied to lessons around self-confidence, self-worth, and things like that. So I would venture you've been working on those. Lastly, around you was a green colored band, which also represents that forgiveness, that heart work that I've started talking with you about with your father. So that tells me that we've been working on that for a while, and we're going to continue to until we finalize that. What do you think?
Yeah.
That sound like you?
That's a very fair statement. It's I've had some psychic readings in the past done, and I've always found them very fascinating. you know, obviously, I think anybody that jumps into this is you're going to go into it with a little bit of skepticism, and I think that's normal, and that's a just sort of a normal feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
remember, there, you know, I work at a behavioral health care facility, uh, and this is maybe 10 years ago. I got to know an individual that worked there who had been a student, is now a student at Lilydale in Western New York. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Yeah.
that. Okay, so she's there now, and she was very empathic, and extremely intelligent, and so she said, "Can I do a reading for you?" And I was a little hesitant at first, and I thought, yeah, okay, you know, let's try this out. And so we did this reading, and I kind of went in there just with an open mind and said, you know what, whatever's going to be is going to be. Let's just kind of see where this goes. But she was like, for a lot of things, maybe not 100% of the things, but she 75% to 80%. Wow, like hitting some things that I would not, she would not have known about me. That's what was kind of interesting. Like she was, you know, hitting things that you know, I should be more grounded, and at the time I had done a lot of long distance hiking, and she was seeing like something about my grandfather and hiking. And I remember she brought up this one thing that has stuck with me, you know, like 10 years later. She said, well, I'm just seeing this red barn. I don't know why I'm seeing this red barn, but I'm seeing this red barn and you hiking, and that this being this like a really powerful thing. And it was weird because the red barn is actually just one spot on the Appalachian Trail that a lot of hikers end up at. And you would not really know about this place unless you're a hiker on the Appalachian Trail, because it's in the middle of nowhere in, you know, somewhere. So it was just bizarre that she brought this up. And I don't know, you know, hey, you know, it just was interesting to me that she really hit on those points. And there is something to that. And I really think some people just have kind of a gift. And I think it's kind of like you were saying, like a muscle, where you can work that muscle. You know, if you go to the gym every day and you do bicep curls, well, guess what? After 2-3 years, you're going to be more adept at biceps. And I think it's the same thing with this, where, you know, if you kind of have realized, all right, I kind of with this, so just to develop it and work at it, I think you really can go far with it. And so maybe that's what I'm seeing here with you.
Thank you. You know, I've been so very blessed to meet a variety of people. I've been in business for about 3.5 years now. I do about 1,200 readings a year in about 34 different countries. And I've worked with politicians, celebrities, normal folks, y'all my favorite, you know, anybody and anywhere. And it has been such a blessing for me to be able to see, you know, people really take what is said and they act on it. And that's the whole point. It's not enough just to take the information. You have to action it and ground it, bring it from earth into reality in order to make it meaningful. And I've been so blessed to see so much of the impacts that I've had over the years. So thank you. What a lovely compliment.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Kami, you brought up something interesting there, and it's something even Howie and I had talked about when we knew you were going to come on the show. Is you've talked with celebrities, you've talked with politicians, whatever. Have any detectives or police officers or anything like that ever come to get your help and try to get some insight on something they've been really trying to figure out?
No, and I don't put that vibe out there. I don't want that. I do help a couple of times a year with families that come forward with missing relatives. I just did one maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. The reason that I don't want to work with law enforcement or anything like that is because it puts me at risk, because I can see.
Oh, okay.
And if something malicious happened, it puts me at risk. And so, I've been very blessed to have a couple of mentors along the way, and one of them taught me that it's just a big no for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, because I think I don't even remember what her name was, and it was the famous one that was she on like the Phil Donahue or something like that? Remember that lady?
Sylvia Brown?
That's it.
Sylvia Brown. That's right.
Yeah, and she would do a lot of detective work and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the very first psychics that I went to did the same. She did a lot of detective work. She was in Arizona, and she was very low key. But she's not. I'm much more of a in the public kind of person, and rather than a low key one. So it's just not. But yeah, Sylvia Brown.
It doesn't. Yeah, so it doesn't fit what you're doing. So I got it. No. And then I had another question too that kind of came to my mind here real quick. With horoscopes and with future readings and such and stuff like that, a lot of religions are very against that. So what do you say to the people that say you shouldn't be doing this? Like, what's God's will happen, that type of thing. Like, what's your response to that?
Sure. So what I'm going to tell you is that even though my gifts got kind of blown up in 2016, I was born this way. I've had clairvoyance my whole life. It was just sort of mild. And as I grew, it kind of got whitewashed. And what I'm going to say to folks that believe that there's something wrong with me is that I have been like this since I was a child. And I do not believe God created evil children. Furthermore, there are lots of prophets in the Bible. How do you think we got the Bible? Prophets. Prophets are people that see in the future. Prophets are wise souls. And that's exactly what I am.
Interesting.
So I'm kind of curious. So if you don't mind me, so what was the first sign that you, when you were growing up, that you said, "Wow, I'm different than somebody else, or I have a gift"? I'm kind of curious as to what was it that you noticed about yourself that was like, okay, I'm different than, Jennifer over here in 7th grade.
And if that answer is different than the one that you told us earlier, I'm not sure. Did you have an earlier experience in life looking back as you were a youth?
Yeah, many. And like I said earlier, we just kind of get whitewashed to things that are inherent in our gifts and the way that we're born, but many. And I can tell you when I hit puberty, which I don't know if this is a phenomenon against with other folks that are gifted, but when I hit puberty, my gifts really skyrocketed, as did my awareness of how different I was and my want to be similar, because that's what it's about when you're a child. You want to be similar to other children. You don't want to stand out. And I can tell you so it's an interesting. In 7th grade, around 7th and 8th grade, things became very interesting for me. Not only would I have a lot of premonitions, but became very telepathic with my father. I could hear him talking. And so, but I'll recount for you an interesting story that happened to me in the 8th grade. And this is when I knew something was very different with me. My science teacher, Mr. Lehman, used to write these huge lectures on the board. And every morning you came in and you were to hand copy each and every lecture. And then he would begin the class. And one morning I recall going in, opening up my big notebook and looking at my neighbor and looking at my notebook and looking at the board, because I had already somehow written in my notebook word for word what was on the board. And I have no recollection still. I asked the girl next door to me, "Hey, did we already cover this? Is this yesterday's?" "No, it's not." And so I knew there was something different with me. I still have no idea how that happened. I could speculate all sorts of stuff that we could have a long conversation about time travel, but I could speculate things like that.
Amy,
so that was one of the.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Kami, I wish you were sitting next to me in class during that time, because I would have loved to have known what the answers were before the answers came out. So where were you? Come on.
So in Fresno, the funny in the armpit. The funny thing is too, is like I learned throughout school that I could do this with exams, that I could close my eyes and I could see what bubble was shaded, what needed to be shaded. I was a very bright student. I was in the gifted and talented program. I was in AP everything, because I was able to see.
Wow.
It's very strange. So, yeah.
Lucky you.
No. Now, how scary is it? Like,
but
because you were
again,
talking. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. No, go ahead. I'm pointing to you.
Oh,
Please
I was just
do.
going to say, you know, how scary is it? Because you had mentioned before that, you know, you do see in the past, and you've seen, you know, other people, obviously like your sister who had passed away. How about someone that you don't even know that has passed away, and now all of a sudden is coming into your you know, focus? And how do you even, like, does that scare you at all, or what?
It used to. It used to. And also through my mentor, I learned that I'm in control of what I experience. And if I don't want to see loved ones or deceased people, they wouldn't really be loved ones, then I don't have to. And I have a rule, and I'll tell you a funny story. I have a rule that they are not allowed in my bedroom. Do not follow me into my bedroom. I don't want to see you when I'm trying to when I'm trying to sleep. However, I used to
Yeah.
live in a house with a sliding glass door off my bedroom. And I recall specifically one time I saw a Native American woman with a baby on her back staring through the window at me, waiting for me to leave the bedroom so she could
Oh my
talk to me.
gosh.
It does get scary.
Wow.
It does get scary, you know, because,
I
and then
bet.
there's the whole thing like I started with is this reality?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
scary.
that's a good point.
You know, but through meeting with so many folks and doing thousands of readings, I have I tell you, I'm probably about 98% accurate. I take a little survey at the end. And so it's through
Okay.
confirmations and stuff like that, you know, help me to be more rooted in this is my reality.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So again, we're speaking with the psychic Kami, and you can find her on social media. Facebook is Spirit Readings by Kami, and her website is psychickami.com, and you can go in there. You can book sessions with her online. There's 30-minute readings. There's just phone readings. You even have email readings. I see that. So yeah, so this is pretty cool stuff. How would the email readings work? Is there a certain kind of information you're looking for them, and then like
So I have
you're able to connect to them just through writing?
So you know, I feel like I want to back up and talk to you about like how I connect with the living, and then you can understand how I would do an email reading or any kind of reading, to be honest with you, because I don't even need to see you to connect with you. You know, I believe that we are all part of the all. We are all one. In fact, I have a tattoo that says we are one in a different language. We are one. And it's that oneness that allows me to know you. And so via an email reading, I have a variety of them. Some of them just questions. Some of people want to have, you know, love readings and things like that. And again, it's just that knowingness. I don't need to see a picture. I don't need anything. All I need to do is be connected to who I am in order to know you.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and like we did with Anna, I was wondering if we can maybe you know, get a look into John's future.
Sure. John, what's your
Yes.
sign?
So I'm an Aries. First day of the first sign.
So you're on
21st.
March
So
20th.
I got a birthday. This coming Monday, the 21st. Well, the first full day. So yeah. So
Yeah, because Aries begins,
so
I think, an hour ahead. Aries is undergoing some significant transformations with their mental health right now. I don't know if you're feeling that as well. A lot of family wounds around Aries.
Being in the field,
Yeah, that's true. A lot of family wounds around Aries, which we just talked about as well. But let me see if I can't tune into you a little bit further. Give me just a second here.
Okay.
John, are you married?
I am. I just got married. Yes.
So this is very intensely personal. If this is something you would like to pass on, please let me know. But did you lose a baby somewhere? Not that you know of.
My new wife did lose a baby, but
okay, that's what I'm feeling around you. Okay, so I'm feeling, so please, you know, if you feel this is in the right spirit, please pass this to her. But I'm definitely feeling that infant, that baby around you also. And so that's obviously for her. So just let her know that that child is still with her and still calls her mommy. That child actually calls you daddy too, which is very, very interesting because of, you know, you're not a bio dad, but he calls you daddy too. So know that. And let me look down the past. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Cami.
No, it's okay. You talk, and it'll allow me to channel, to tune in more to you. So it's kind of what?
No, it's interesting because the biological dad was not very, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, more distant and more not, he just wasn't very, he kind of wanted it to be done and, hey, stop thinking about this and move on.
Unfortunately, and it was. And so it was.
And
yeah.
And I
so
don't think my mom has ever forgotten that, but I obviously care about her, and I care about her. It was twins, but now it's there's one left. Yeah, so it's just an interesting that you would bring that up. And
of course it is.
It's just
bizarre a little. Right?
Yeah.
So the one thing to know, and maybe this will help your wife a little bit, is that when we lose a baby, whether it's through, an intentional choice or an accident or whatever that is, there's never any hard feelings with them. They love us so much. They're so thankful that we would have, be a part of our life on any level, and they just go get back in line too. And so there's a long line to incarnate, and they just kind of go back in there and see another mommy and daddy. Right. So kind of sometimes that helps people to shift away, because there's a lot of guilt sometimes and things like that. And then also with twins.
It's kind of interesting that you bring that up. Yeah, to think of it that way. I've never really thought of it that way. Like they just, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, there are so many souls who are waiting to come and have the earth experience. It's humans take things personally. Spirit does not. And so, one of the biggest gifts that you can learn for yourself is to depersonalize things in life. It's all just a journey. It's all just experience. The other thing I want to share with you about twins is I've noticed that when there is one that leaves, every time I've talked to that one that leaves, they always tell me that there was a discussion between them and the other twin about whose mission was more important, knowing that there could only be so much space. And so the child that's remaining felt that the two agreed that they had more of an important mission than the one that left.
Never thought about it that way, but yeah, wow. That's kind of fascinating. Yeah.
It is. And then the one thing that I saw around you, John, is I saw a dandelion, and the ones that you blow on. And I just feel like it's time for you to make a wish in your life. So I don't know if you see the number 11 repeatedly or not, or maybe you will after this, but it's time for you to make a thoughtful wish about a change that you would like in your life, because now you have the energy of creation around you. So make a wish.
Definitely feel like I have some more options. I don't feel trapped. I feel like there could be some movement if I don't, if I want to move, or if we want to do something differently. So
there is. Yeah. You're in a creation period.
Sure. Hey, I was kind of curious, and I did want to ask you as far as my career path. What you saw there, felt, or if there was some kind of energy or something I should know about my career path.
Yeah. Are you hands-on with people?
I do a lot of training people, and I'm in front of people a lot, and I'm usually like in an instructor role.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. Let me tune back into that 1 second. I just feel like, and I'm just going to repeat what they said, and this will mean more for you than it does for me, likely. But I just feel like there needs to be more of a hands-on role in your life. And Spirit keeps telling me you're a shower. You're a shower. And so I don't know what that means in terms of maybe, the way that you're delivering some of your materials needs to be more hands-on or more interactive in the field or something like that. But your job here is to show, not to tell. Not to tell.
No, I
So let's have more of that showing. You'll have more of an impact on various lives. Hold on for a second, please. I have another message. I have to get the vision and then ask them how they want me to interpret this for you. So just a sec. Do you ever play Tetris as a kid?
Sure.
So they're just wanting to talk with you about the way that things fit. You know how Tetris is just very like, one piece can fit here. It's all sort of an interlocking puzzle. Yep. And I feel for you. Yeah. I feel for you that we don't quite have the right fit with work specifically, and that we're looking for the piece that fits, and it's coming. There's something coming for you in April. Are you aware of that?
Other than hopefully a trip outside the country, but yeah.
Take me with you.
Not an Amazon package or anything like that, John?
No, I mean an opportunity. I specifically meant a work opportunity is coming for you that's going to elevate you into a different place. That's kind of the piece that fits for you. April, tuck it in your cap. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. What else, guys?
Sounds good.
Kami, so again, first of all, Psychic Kami on all our social media sites. You can find her there. PsychicKami.com on the website. You brought up something when you were talking with John there, and it was kind of interesting to me. And he lost a child. Well, he didn't lose a child, but his wife at one point lost a child. You said that the child still calls her, calls her mommy, calls him daddy, whatever. But also waiting in line for another reincarnation, I guess, is what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they do become reincarnated, does that spirit still stay there with the mother, or does that gain a whole nother spirit at that point?
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about babies that, we lose and go into the other side. I find that when they reincarnate, that bond with mother gets diminished. And so while they're waiting to reincarnate, they're still hanging around mom, still hanging around dad, wanting to experience that life. And some of them don't ever get back in line to reincarnate. They're happy just to hang out with us and just to follow along. But when they do reincarnate, that connection is very much diminished.
Okay. And I noticed too, Kami, when you were talking to John and also Anna, you were kind of like trying to get a spirit reading. Something was coming to you. Like, what exactly is going on in your head when you're going through that moment? Like, what's happening?
Sure. So that's a wonderful question. Thank you. So what happens for me is I'll close my eyes. Sometimes you'll see my eyes cross a little bit as I kind of relax my gaze on you, but I'll close my eyes or relax my eyes, and I'll begin to get visions. And from there, I kind of slip into an in-between place where I'm here with you, but I'm also there with spirit. And I'm holding a vision in my mind, listening to you and listening to them and asking them, what do you want me to say about that? What is important for me to relay? And so that's kind of where I'm at, is I'm halfway here and I'm halfway there. And that's what a channel is really about, is that I share my physical space with spirit. So of course I've got to move out of the way a little bit.
Okay. Interesting. So are there voices that are like literally interrupting you right in the moment, saying, here's what I have and this
Sometimes.
is okay. Interesting.
And what's interesting about that is, I'm very fortunate that I have learned to kind of switch it off when I leave my office. However, there are people that I'll run across, or if I have a dream, or just people that I'm connected with that I will, like yesterday I heard the name of a very good friend of mine and wound up reaching out and got some closure on a difficult period we'd had 20 years ago together. And so sometimes I hear voices, sometimes I'll feel things. That's more what happens to me in public, is I feel people.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, thank you, Kami. And
thanks for your time, Kami.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I hope we can stay in touch. This is very interesting. There's a lot of other roads that we can dive down here. And, we gave Anna and John the opportunity to learn a little bit about themselves. What about Troy and I? Help us out here. Give us some good news.
Well, first of all, is anybody a Scorpio?
I'm not.
What are you, Troy?
I'm not either. I'm an Aries as well.
I'm a Cancer.
Who's the
I've
Cancer?
said that a lot about him, by the way.
Troy.
Troy is the Cancer? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's your sign?
Yeah, that's why. That's why he's replacing me with Jeff next week.
Okay.
That's right.
Howie, you said you're an Aries?
I am.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay, one
Yes.
second. Let me kind of, I feel like I want to tune into Troy first, so give me just a second.
Sure, not a problem.
You know, Troy, cancers, we call them big daddy energy, but I don't feel big daddy energy from you. And so that tells me that you're not living your authentic life right now. Do you want to quit your, I don't want to say it, because I don't know. Do you want to quit your job? Do you want to quit your job?
Not really. I mean, I like my job now. Like, granted, if this podcast would take us to a whole other level,
Okay.
then we'd be talking.
So there are thoughts somewhere back here around transitioning to something bigger, because you are much bigger than what you're doing, and you're kind of, I hate to say this, but Spirit says to me that you're wasting your genius. Do you understand that? Your genius that you were born with.
I feel that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that for you too. So don't let it get too far away from you before you act on things. You know, as we get older, we're less likely to act and make large changes. So don't let that get too far away from you. Also, I feel like you're gonna have some car issues. What you got going on?
Hopefully not, but our cars are due for inspection in the next couple months. So.
All right. So I would expect something to pop up during inspection. Let me see what else I have for you. One sec. Are you married?
I am.
How long?
It'll be 15 years this year.
That's nice. I feel like the two of you are connected at a deeper level. Again, like we talked about with dogs, there's pals and there's babies. There's just different levels of connection. And I feel that the two of you have something that's rather unique. I kind of want to say, yeah, I just feel like the two of you are, it's not soulmates, it's something bigger than that. And I just feel that around the two of you. Does she have a problem with her stomach or food or something? Or is it you?
No, I don't.
So around
I
her,
don't. I mean, I will say, I don't know, 14 years ago or so, I had my gallbladder removed, but that was.
Yeah, I feel like it's more around her energy, to be honest with you. So please keep an eye out. I feel like, I don't know if she has autoimmune or if that's in her family, or if there's just something not right with her digestive system. So when she happens to feel sick, she'll need to see someone. When her system kind of gets off, it's a sign for her that there's something bigger going on with her digestive system. Autoimmune maybe.
Well, her immune system is compromised because she does have RA.
So she does have autoimmune now.
Yes.
Okay, so
rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, so I have RA, and you guys were asking earlier how I read people, and it's through that empathicness, because I could feel autoimmune because I have it. And so what I'm saying to you is, like, I just feel like, I hope not, but I feel like Crohn's around her or something, that the immune's just going to step up and sort of take another issue, and it'll be with the digestive system. So she'll need help with that.
Okay.
Do you have any questions specifically?
Not really. It's just, the whole thing's just really interesting to me, to how you kind of just step out into this other world for a second and then come back and kind of like, it's.
Well, remember, it's like
it's
a
really
blending.
interesting.
Thank you. It's like I just move over a little bit so that we kind of share. And that's what happened with my sister, is I moved over a little bit and I shared my space with her. Yeah, good. Howie, you want to talk about your body?
Yeah. I'm scared to hear it, but go for it.
Yeah. So I kind of instantly tuned into that with you as your physical body. And I feel like I want to kind of float my way through it and see what I'm picking up. Give me just a second.
Okay.
A lot of women do.
Huh?
He said a lot of women
do.
Okay. That's funny.
No comment.
No comment for me either. That's interesting. How tall are you,
I'm 6 foot.
Howie? Okay,
I'm 6
that's
foot
funny.
even.
6 foot even and tall man. One sec. Are you developing problems with your legs?
Not as of recent, no.
So I would watch for that.
I
I'm
mean, I'm
feeling
a
like
okay.
so specifically what I'm being taken to in your legs is venous problems, vein problems. And so I don't know how old you are, but I would certainly keep an eye on leg fatigue or leg aches and things like that. That's going to be a sign of vein problems for you and will need medical attention.
Okay.
One sec.
Sure.
Are you psychic also, Howie, a little bit?
I have no idea. I mean, there are times where I get those gut feelings, and they tend to come to fruition.
I
And
would
I've
go a little bit
I've
farther.
actually had like deja vu in the
Yeah.
past where I thought, there was something wrong.
No, there's nothing wrong with deja vu. Let me take that. Let me say that to you. But Spirit is just indicating to me that you're a really good receiver. And so I would pay close attention to your dreams if I were you. Get a dream journal. If, whenever you have a feeling that you need to call a friend, pick up that phone. You're a good receiver.
Okay. Interesting.
One sec. There's also two people off in the distance for you, and I don't really want to get into medium work right now with you really intensely, but there's
Sure.
two people off in the distance for you. I feel like one's a man, they're closer, and then way behind that person, maybe his wife. So is this grandma and grandpa?
Very possibly, sure. I was close to both.
So the man is the one that comes forward. The woman is much in the background. Let me see. May I get his name, please?
I'm sorry.
What was your grandpa's name?
His name was Harold.
I had a cat named Harold. He passed
I
away
don't think it's the
last
same
year.
person.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Let me see what Harold has for you today.
All right.
Do you eat cookies or did he eat cookies?
Oh boy. I'm sure he ate cookies, and I mean,
We all eat cookies, but some people have a sweet tooth.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have my moments, sure.
Yeah, so he's just really wanting to talk about sweets and cookies and things like that, and
Okay.
portion control for you with the sweets. I don't know how he died, but watch your sugars.
Interesting. I'm diabetic.
Okay, watch your sugars, then stay away from the cookies, please.
Okay.
One sec. Are you at a crossroads?
Meaning what?
Two decisions, two choices. Both leading in different places.
Potentially, yes.
I do see that.
Okay.
And I feel like there might be some stagnation energy around you where we've had these opportunities presented to us for a moment now, but we haven't gone through the door yet. And you're meant to go through the door. You're not meant to stand at the door. Yeah. So, and I feel like the door is open for you. And that's something I've always said with my life. When the door is open, that's where I'm meant to go. When the door is closed, obviously you're not supposed
Okay.
to. I just feel like too, like I want to relay to you, like the doors that I'm seeing in front of you are both red in color, which tells me that there is some concern about our changes in our stability. Is that right?
Okay. When you say stability, what do you mean exactly?
Just how you feel safe in the world, how you feel stable in the world, So for me, like I got a Capricorn moon, like I don't like changes whatsoever. And so
Okay.
stability, like don't rock the boat with me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I just feel like this why in the road decision is challenging your stability a little bit, sense of things being different and changing and stuff like that. And that's what the pause is about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always very skeptical of, any decision that I make. I'm always challenging and,
I think the one thing I'm going to leave you with, Howie, is that, Aries leads the charge. And that's for you too. Aries leads the charge, and so when you take action as an Aries, you're extra blessed.
Okay.
So take action.
Very interesting.
Don't sit in stagnation energy.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Kami. That was, I mean, this has been really interesting, and
Yes.
it's just, I mean, it's really interesting to hear, you know, your take on things, and I'm always curious. I would love to be inside your head right now, just to like hear how things are working for you, and like hear like whoever's telling you this or telling you that, and like, is it different people? Like when you're talking with the four of us here, are you hearing four different voices or seeing four different? Okay, it's all the same.
No. Well, remember that I'm connected to the all. And the all
Okay,
is one voice. It's one
gotcha.
voice.
Okay, very
The
interesting.
conscious collective. Yeah, I do hear that. That's so funny. Have me back. Let's talk about weird stuff like aliens. I feel like we want to do that.
Oh,
like
boy.
something like that.
Yeah, no, this has been really interesting, and we will definitely promote you and lead a lot of our audience, you know, your way, because it's very interesting to us, and I'm glad you were able to take the time out and chat with us and
Yeah,
be
thank
honest,
you.
and appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. You know, any opportunity that I have to share the light is one that I'm really
Awesome.
interested in myself. So thank you for having me today. It
Oh,
was
of
great.
course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
You can find her at psychickami.com, which is ChickKami.com, and then you can find her on social media. Same thing, Psychic Kami, and then her Facebook page is. So again, thank you so much, Anna, John. Thank you guys for joining in. This is our first time having different guests and stuff.